Over the summer, I bought a new pair of shoes, and if you look at these shoes, they're the same size. I even checked on the inside, but the left pair was a little tighter than the right pair. And it usually takes a while for shoes to conform to your feet, so they usually take the shape of your foot. So yeah, it was a little tight, but no biggie. But you see the lack of workmanship. This tassel here, it's more of a trapezoid, and this one's more of a rectangle. So consequently, there's no good quality control. And I think these are made out of synthetic fibers, so even though this is elastic over here, the left shoe tore up the arch in my foot. Anyway, the doctor said I have to now wear, he suggested I wear insoles. Like an old person. Anyway, I bought some insoles and I tried different ones. So here's an insole, which is plastic. I guess they're for really fat people who keep pressing down on their arch and they have flat feet, so they need to have a high arch that forces their foot. But what happens is, if this is the arch of my foot, I feel like the insole, here's the heel, are digging that way versus being lined up. So anyway, I've tried different insoles. This is one kind I tried. Here's another one. This was the most comfortable one. I hate the fact that some come in sizes where you have to cut because I'm a perfectionist and now it's not perfect. So this shows the arch and then it angles down. And the problem is, these insoles, even the Dr. Scholl's, I have a pair of Dr. Scholl's right here. Basically, they make this arch so high that this one seems a little level here, where it slopes down, but all of them, it's like they overcompensate on the medial portion of the foot where the arch is, that the other part, which tends not to be as arched, is undercompensated, so then this part starts feeling fatigued from wearing them. So I don't want to correct this area at the expense of that, all because I bought a pair of shoes that is defective. Anyway, the past couple days or past week or two, my foot has felt better, so I hope I'm healing because I don't like wearing orthotics. They're too thick compared to what comes in shoes. They feel funky, and I'm not that old to wear them. So anyway, I'm going to show you guys how to make your own custom orthotics. These are some orthotics from a pair of shoes I bought, and after buying that defective pair, I ended up trying different shoes at first to see which helps. What I'm going to use is something called craft foam. You have two kinds. They come in all sorts of color. This is a regular one. You can buy them in sheets for like $1 a sheet, or you can buy a nice big roll for a few dollars. But this is, just regular foam on both sides. Then you have the kind that is essentially self-adhesive. I have brown, I have white, so it's just whatever you want. So anyway, you need some that are self-adhesive and some that aren't for this project. And one thing is, if you use a dark one, it's a little trickier, so I'm going to start with a white one, but first I'm going to pry the label off. So anyway, one thing you have to consider is if you do trace the outline, the fact that these are raised and everything means you have to trace a little wider unless you just want it down there. Usually they're done to cradle your foot. I'm not too worried about that. I'm worried more about having an arch that's more tapered properly on my foot. And one thing I recommend, instead of tracing both, you could always trace one and cut both together. So now I'm going to take these out and remove that hair. There's a piece of glitter that's bothering me. And I'm going to go ahead and just cut down the center. And then, I'm going to couple it with the straight edge. And you can always put a little bit of tape. Okay, there we go. And I'll probably just cut from the edge here. You can also take a box cutter and just cut carefully and run it over the same area a few times if you want a nice clean cut, or hopefully a clean cut. But I've had enough practice cutting insoles to size that You know, it doesn't matter. Okay, so now I have two pairs, one for the right and one for the left. You know, they're switched at the moment. And I can go ahead, you see that, and try to trace. I need to cut this, but let me see where to cut. We have two for the left and two for the right. If you notice, they're a little smaller, but that's fine because as it takes the shape of the foot, you know, it's not a big deal. So now, what we're gonna do, I'm gonna take some scrap pieces. If I look at this, you can see where it bulges, and that's where the heel is. If I compare it to this, you can actually see that this is a little bit higher, and instead of the arch being right here, it's a little there. So like I said, they basically dig into the back. So I want to make sure they're not going to dig in. I want to make a piece that's like that, so then it's elevated and shaped accordingly. I actually want to cut this into smaller pieces that I can actually couple. Okay, so then I'm going to try this without tape. I'm just going to hold it securely. And now that I have this to the shape there, like that, I'm going to basically come at a U so it's deeper and it's working its way towards the back, not contorting your foot with a really high arch on one end at the expense of the other side. So now that we have this on both sides, and if you see, if this is like that, that is like this. So then we have the adhesive portion that can stick onto that piece, which is what we want versus adhesive on adhesive. So now we have this, and one thing we can do is take some more scraps. I have, yeah, I think these pieces would work here. I'm just gonna cut this down. I think I'll do that versus this. Now one thing I can do is take this, and I'm going to use the same piece as a template and cut that. I'm going to hold it tight so I don't have to worry about running a pen. Okay, I keep digging into that piece. Anyway, so now I have this, and then I have two pieces. Oh, I should have, no, there were a couple of sticky to sticky, so like that. So anyway, yeah, adhesive to adhesive. Nope, I put them in opposites, so I'm just going to take one and shrink it down just a little bit because I didn't need the whole length anyway. Okay, and then I'm going to curve this. I didn't mean to break it like that. It can be a little like that shape. I wanted it this a little smoother, but that's fine. So now essentially, I dropped one. Okay, essentially you can have a slightly higher arch here, but it's not as defined as this, where it's more tapered. So it's not as high as accentuated, which is good for people who don't really need such a high arch digging into your foot, but you just want something comfortable. You put that in, and that's gonna dig in, you know. Usually they make the backside raised up for plantar fasciitis, but I just wanted to fit the arch of my foot, not be raised or anything, because I don't know if I have plantar fasciitis. I just think I tore up part of the arch from wearing a defective pair of shoes. We have that. We can work our way towards assembling this. You know, you could always run a U-shaped piece here if you want it to be curved. You can add more padding here, just whatever your feet need for your custom orthotics. So anyway, for this, I don't really like the way this is not shaped as well or identical, so I'm actually going to go and grab another piece of craft foam and I'll be back. Okay, I found a nice huge sheet versus having to go cut a piece off a roll that I have. Okay, so I'm not too happy with how this turned out because somehow it didn't cut right on that side. Wow. It shifted and I had, you know, that's not going to be too big of a deal. I could always cut a little sliver of the self-adhesive one and put there if need be, so I'm not going to worry about recutting this. So now that I have those, let's see, I can put that there, this there, and I'm actually going to butt these up so then they're going to be more lined up. And so like that. You know, these I had shaped to the other pairs, so I'm going to put these like that. So we have that in. Now I'm going to get this one in. Okay, now we have these pieces. It's always good to line them up. Make sure you use the right side for each. And they line up. So now that will go right there. This is going to be the tricky part because if it doesn't line up right, you're going to have to start all over. Okay, I might do one shoe at a time. Funny, I'm using the one that wasn't cut perfect to begin with, but I'm going to line these up like that. Okay, and there we go. So I have this side where you can see this side's higher than that, so it should help. And then this is lined up. I can see that that's a little was cut a little too big, so I can always trim that and clean up the mess. So you see here's one ridge, then another, so this should give me a slightly higher arch here. I could always put a smaller piece if I wanted to make this bigger than this piece and, you know, make one in between. But that should be good, and you have a little nice tight padding with this. Now here what I want to do is take a sliver with a straight edge, and I'm going to stick that straight edge there. So basically you're doing a patch job with that piece that was cut too short, and then you can always cut the outline, and there. So now I can do the same with the other side. Once again, I have sticky stuff. Okay, I want to make sure this is, okay, that's going to be like that. Okay. So we want to make sure this is going to line up. And it didn't line up perfectly. Let's see if I can peel this without, oh good, I'm able to reuse it. I was so worried that it would stick and I would have to start all over. You know, sometimes it's good to work from the back to the front. Oh, perfect. So you see this side here versus that side, and you can tell which side was correct. So now we have our own custom insoles. Like I said, you can always put a little U-shape, put extra padding here if you want this side elevated, extend this far, put another one if you want a third piece, raise the arch to a height you like. The good thing about making them yourself is you can, create them how you want. You can put 3, 4, 5 layers inside, extend them if you want a really high arch versus gradient versus or even versus this side elevated. And you don't have to worry about a store-bought one that's just so generic, and everything, is the same when everybody's feet are different. So now let me go and see how well these work in a pair of shoes. Okay, I took out these insoles. They're nice, thick, and squishy. If I wanted to, I could always add extra layers to the insoles I made. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and stick these in there and see how they fit on my feet. If you look here, it's actually curving out. The side's now raised, so it may actually be a little different than how you design based on the shoes, but also these are for a different pair, I used insoles from a different pair of shoes. So let me try it. I just thought I'd try them in this one first. So now let me see how they fit. Wow. The arch is actually feels a little high, but unlike the pairs, unlike the pairs I bought, they're still feel a little to the back, but not as much. Anyway, they're actually not that bad. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully you've learned some stuff here today that you can make your own insoles, and thanks for watching.